1099 reporting is a key component of accounts payable in Sage Mass 90 and Mass 200. In this tutorial, we'll show you how to enable 1099 tracking, how to record transactions for 1099 reporting, and how to print 1099 forms. So let's jump right in and get started. We'll begin at the task menu tree and select Accounts Payable, Setup, Accounts Payable Options. Here on the main tab of the Accounts Payable Options window is where you activate 1099 tracking and reporting. We'll go ahead and check the box for 1099 reporting. Next, we'll enter the calendar year to set up. Note that if this has not been previously set up, a message will appear asking if you want to create 1099 boxes for the year. Select Yes if you encounter this message. In our example, we'll select 2010 as our default 1099 calendar year. Note that these settings will only affect invoices posted after the vendor has been set up for 1099 tracking. Now we'll click Accept. The next step is to identify the specific vendor that we want to track for 1099 reporting. We'll do this in Vendor Maintenance by going to the menu tree and select Main, Vendor Maintenance. We'll open Vendor Number Lookup, highlight Stevens Supply, our example vendor, and hit Select. Now let's click over to the Additional tab. In the 1099 Forms section, we'll open the vendor type list and the choices are business or individual. We'll choose business for our example. For the default form, select the type of payment to be reported, miscellaneous, interest, or dividend. We'll select the most common choice, miscellaneous. And next we'll enter the vendor's taxpayer ID number. For our example, we'll enter a random sequence of 9 numbers. The default box number is where you select the box where the 1099 information will print on the actual form. We'll choose number 7, which is the most common for non-employee compensation. Now we'll click the 1099 History button and choose Yes to save our changes. And here, as expected, we can see that no 1099 information has been recorded to date. As a reminder, 1099 History will start recording invoices that are created from this point forward. Now we'll close the History window and Vendor Maintenance. To demonstrate the recording of 1099 information, we'll walk through generation and payment of an invoice for this vendor. To do this, we'll go to Invoice Data Entry. In the Vendor field, we'll once again click the Lookup and select Stevens Supply from the listing. Now let's enter the invoice number, and since this is a demo, we'll just enter a random sequence. Moving to Invoice Amount, we'll put $2,500. Notice that our vendor's terms also give us a $50 discount. And you can see that the vendor's 1099 information is also displayed here. Now we'll open the Lines tab. Note here that the default GL account assigned to this vendor has automatically populated the invoice line. The GL account was previously assigned to this vendor in Vendor Maintenance. We can view this by clicking the Vendor button, and on the Additional tab, there's the pre-assigned GL account. Let's close this window, and we'll click Accept to save the invoice. Next, we'll click the Print button to advance to Invoice Register Printing. And let's hit Preview so we can review the register before updating. And here it appears that our GL accounts and debits and credits are correct, so now we'll close the Preview window and choose Yes to update the invoice register, and then No at the prompt to print the daily transaction register. The invoice we just entered should now be listed under Stevens Supply's record in Vendor Maintenance. So let's take a quick look by opening Vendor Maintenance. Here we'll once again select Stevens Supply. Let's open the Invoices tab, and there's the invoice we just posted. So let's close the window, and now we'll pay the invoice that we just created. And it's at this point that the 1099 information will be captured. So we'll return to the menu tree and select Check Printing and Electronic Payment, Check and Electronic Payment Maintenance. We'll once again enter our example vendor in the Vendor Number field. And for our entry number, we'll type 001. Now we'll open the lookup and select our example invoice for payment. Let's click Accept and then hit the Print button to print the invoice payment selection listing. We'll select Preview and view the invoices selected for payment on the screen, which in this case is just the one invoice. Let's close the preview and choose Yes to print the check. And here we'll again click Print. For demo purposes, we'll print the check to a PDF so we can view it on the screen. And there's the check, and everything looks correct, so we'll close the window and click OK on the last check number message, and OK again at the reminder to remove your check stock from the printer, and Yes to printing the check register, and we'll hit Preview and the register prints to our screen. Here you should verify the check information before updating the check register, and everything looks correct, so we'll close the report and then click Yes to update the register. And we'll elect not to print the daily transaction register. Now that we've paid our vendor, let's now view their 1099 history. To do this, we'll go back to the menu tree and select Vendor Maintenance. We'll again look up and select our example vendor, Stevens Supply. Let's move to the Additional tab, and here we'll click the 1099 History button. And there's the payment that we just made to them recorded under their 1099 history. Let's close the History window and Vendor Maintenance. Now for the final step, let's run through printing of the 1099 form. To do this, we'll go to the menu tree and select Reports, Form 1099 Printing. In the Template Selection pop-up, we'll select 1099 Miscellaneous Pre-printed Laser Form to print the 1099 information for our example vendor. We'll enter the current minimum of $600 to print 1099 forms. This option will only select vendors where our payments exceed $600. If this were a real situation, we would at this point put the 1099 form in our printer. But since it's a demo, we'll just hit the Print button and have it print to a PDF document. And there it is. Of course, if we had printed this to an actual printer rather than to our screen, the items here would fall within the appropriate boxes on the 1099 form stock. Now we'll close the print window, and we're reminded by the message to remove our 1099 forms from the printer, and we'll click OK. And finally, we'll elect to not increment the default 1099 calendar year to the next year. And that completes our tutorial on 1099 reporting. Give us a call if you need assistance with this or any other feature in your Sage Mass 90 or Mass 200 system. Well, that's it for this tutorial. Bye for now.